We're at the Higgins Center in Hillsdale, New Jersey. Tonight, through closed circuit, we will be linked to our studio in Montclair, where we will witness and comment upon the discussion between Robert J. Durant and parapsychologist Dr. Joanne McMahon. I'm June Marlowe, and welcome to Roswell? Yes!
As a parapsychologist, I'm naturally intrigued by a good mystery. No riddle has captured the public attention like the debate over Roswell. Robert J. Durant has investigated the enigma of Roswell for over 12 years. He has painstakingly researched some of the basic assumptions of the case. Bob, before we discuss your findings, would you please give us a brief overview of what happened in July 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico?
Glad to. The Roswell story really begins with a salt-of-the-earth cowboy sheep rancher, a fellow named Mac Brazel. Mac Brazel worked on a vast ranch owned by the Foster family, so it's called the Foster Ranch, and he was basically a tenant farmer there, running a large group of sheep. He lived in a shack, no running water, no electricity, a very hard life. He had a family. He made a kind of a living, and his family lived in nearby Corona, where they had running water, electricity, and schools for the kids. One day, Mac Brazel went all the way into Roswell. That's where the sheriff's office was. About a 75-mile trip, only about 2/3 of which had real roads. A long, hard ride. He went in and talked to the sheriff. We don't know exactly what he told the sheriff, but what we do know is that the sheriff took it seriously enough, and it had to do with something out on his ranch. Later, Mac Brazel would just give little hints. He told some of his neighbors, he said, "My sheep wouldn't cross this stuff." Apparently it was some kind of junk that had fallen on the ranch of considerable extent, something he'd never seen before. In any event, Sheriff Wilcox immediately picked up the phone and called the Roswell Army Airfield, which was a very large operation in Roswell. Now, this was a July 4th holiday weekend. Whatever it was that the sheriff told them caused the Roswell Army Airfield to send 2 officers. We're going to hear their names a lot. Major Jesse Marcel and Captain Sheridan Cabot. Now, this alone is sort of weird because, figure out, I don't care if you're working for some company or for the military, a holiday weekend, the big shots are usually out doing a barbecue or something. It's the peons that get sent on jobs like this. But these two seem to have gotten together at once, Major Marshall and Captain Cabot. Not just 2 officers, but 2 officers with very interesting positions at the Roswell Army Airfield. Major Marcel was the staff intelligence officer. Captain Cabot was the head of the Counterintelligence Corps detachment. Now, the Counterintelligence Corps, very interesting outfit. Half of their job was catching spies and screwing up spies. The other half of their job was major serious crime, things like murders and things like that. So this is most interesting to me that those two should go out. Cabot drove a Jeep carryall, and Marcel drove his own car out there. Again, giving me the clue, once again, that they felt that whatever this dumb rancher, and I use the word dumb in quotes, because later on the skeptics are going to call him just some illiterate cowboy. Whatever it was that he told the sheriff, that the sheriff told the Army airfield, kind of shot him a little bit of adrenaline, and they went out and followed him out there. According to Major Marcel, they spent the night out there. And Marcel, at least, came back very early the next morning. He must have reported this to the commanding officer. And here's a picture of the commanding officer. Movie star good looks. His name was Colonel William Blanchard. And everybody that worked for him said he just was a charismatic figure. We're going to be hearing a little bit more about him later. Blanchard, that morning, called in his public information officer, a fellow named First Lieutenant Haught, and dictated to him a press release, an amazing press release. It said, "We have captured or gathered up a flying disc." Now, flying disc in those days equated with flying saucer. It's what today we would call a UFO. So the public information officer wrote it up, said, "Yes, sir," of course, took it around to the two radio stations and the one newspaper in Roswell. That's all they had. They headlined it, of course, and they put it on the Associated Press newswire. So it went around the world within hours. Every phone in Roswell was ringing off the hook. Everybody wanted to know about this because starting early in 1947, we had this wave of sightings that really has never ended, what we today call UFOs. So it was a great mystery then, and a spectacular announcement. That's in the morning. About 5 o'clock in the afternoon, now I have to shift from Roswell to Fort Worth, Texas, where the next level in the chain of command is, and that's Brigadier General Roger Ramey. And here's another photo showing Roger Ramey, another guy that looks right out of the movies. No wonder we won World War II with guys like this running the show. In any event, there's Roger Ramey holding a press conference. And who's there at the press conference but Major Marcel and the press corps from Fort Worth, Texas. Luckily, some excellent photographs were taken, and we're going to look at these and in greater detail down the road. On the floor of General Ramey's office was all this stuff, and the press was there looking at it. And the general brought in a warrant officer named Irving Newton, who was a meteorology specialist. And he says, "Warrant Officer Newton, what do you think this stuff is?" And Newton says, "I've launched 1,000 of those. It's just a weather balloon and the radar target that the balloon raises so that we can follow the thing as it floats through the air and figure out the wind velocity and direction and stuff that we need to know like that. I've launched 1,000 of them. It's just a weather balloon." With that, Ramey said, "Gosh, am I embarrassed. Sorry for all of this furor." And the Roswell story died. It died right there. In fact, you can pick up books that were written in that time frame by UFO specialists. They don't even mention Roswell. So it died.
So if Roswell died, what then inspired it to be picked up again?
Okay, sort of, what are we doing here if it died?